Hello, you wonderful people, and welcome to another episode of Not Too Comic Book. This being a show where I talk about TV shows that are adaptations of comic books. For today's episode, I'm going to talk about the season 1 finale of Creature Commandos. Great season finale. A lot of really interesting things went down in this episode, so let's break it down. Well, first and foremost, let's talk about Nina's backstory. Of course, it was going to be depressing because everything about the show is quite depressing and sad, really. But, she was born with a situation where like her lungs were kind of on the outside, and basically she was constantly filling up with like basically kind of drowning and not able to really breathe. And her dad, being a scientist, is doing everything he can to help. And it's the sad situation that Nina found herself in. That like right, she had to be from a very young age had to be strapped up to machines to try and help her breathe, which led to a disagreement between her parents because her mom's like, that's not any way for a child to live. We should have never put her on those machines. We should have just unplugged the machines from the beginning. But for the dad, it's like, no, this is our child. And it's like, that's such a complicated thing of like, it's like, yeah, I mean, it's like, it's not an easy choice in this particular regard, because that's kind of what, like, you know, it's like, should we have let our child die? And it's like, you understand where the mom's coming from, where it's like, our daughter will never have an easy life, but is that a reason to cut that life short because she's ours? But in her mind, it's like, but no, she's yours, because our child is going to suffer, and I have to sit here and watch our child suffer. Like, she doesn't even look at me. But Nina's dad is like, but you won't, she won't look at you. She doesn't respond to you because she can feel your contempt. She's very intuitive, and she can feel how you feel about her. And even like Nina's mom had to admit, like, okay, but she kind of walks away, and she was never in Nina's life for the rest of her. And it's sad with the way the story plays out, because you're like, well, her dad died, and the only person out there is her mom, but her mom left her at a very young age. So who knows if her mom's still alive out there. Sad thing is, she probably started a new family and stuff. Because it makes me wonder, was Nina's condition just a birth defect? Can that actually happen? Or was it a situation of, because like, was there already a meta gene inside of her type of situation? Because I don't always fully know how the meta gene works in the DC universe. I don't know if it 100% works like that X gene. I'm not even trying to be like, oh, which came first. I'm just like, comparatively, I know like the X gene is inside people and it just activates at different points in your life. So I don't fully remember if like, I think it kind of works like that. Like the mutant, the meta gene is in you. It just takes certain circumstances to bring it to the surface. So I don't know if that was a byproduct of her already being a mutant, that maybe her mom, like, side of the family potentially carried the mutant gene, maybe. And I'm just keep doing it, sorry. The meta gene or whatever, but whatever the case may be, he was desperate to save her, especially as she got older, so she wouldn't have to lug around literally extra 30 pounds of machinery. I mean, couldn't even go to the walking part without her like struggling, because it's like she's carrying all that weight. And he performs an experiment on her, and that turned her into what she is now, where she needs water to breathe. And so for most of her life, she's been homeschooled, but then he tried to put out, because it's like, right, she's super intelligent, she knows all these different languages, and then he wants to put her into school because it's like, I want her to socialize, you know? And it's, you know, obviously he has probably a lot of sway, because I'm sure like Nina gets good grades and stuff, plus being the daughter to him, and he's a well-renowned scientist. So yeah, there's a lot of sway there, but it's also unfair for him to assume like the world's going to treat her right and okay. And she was bullied and humiliated and treated, and she was othered in a way like, you know, even amongst outcasts, she would be an outcast. And it's just like, she did nothing wrong. She just by existing, like, people treated her differently. Like, she tried to play lacrosse, that did not go well. She was almost like, oh, this boy's smiling and waving at me. Oh no, like, he's here waiting so that when I open my locker, I'll see the fraud. And she couldn't take it anymore. And she felt like she was a burden on her dad. It's like, right, I'm grateful for all that you done. I will always love you, but I'm going to be such a burden on you. So she leaves. But then she becomes this mysterious thing in Central City of like, oh, this sighting of, is this real? Is this not? And some guy photographs her, and then people come and snatch her up. She did nothing wrong. Her only crime was existing because they're like, because she even said previously, like, because even back in episode 4, it's like the bride was like, oh, have you ever killed anyone? She was like, do I look like that? Because I was like, how did Nina get to where she is? It's simply by existing, because I think it's, once again, we don't know like DC's rules when it comes to like her circumstances of like, are you a danger to anyone? No, she was just doing her own thing, but it's just because she is what she is. How she ended up in Belle Reeves, how long has she been in Belle Reeves? Because she was in high school, I believe, when she left, and there was like a 3-year time skip. So like, who knows how long she was in Belle Reeves, how long she was locked up. Because I was like, right, you let other metas just kind of run rampant that are heroes. Like you use the Flash, for example. Well, I don't know if he's always considered a meta. I think he is, but I mean, anyone that has superpowers that isn't an alien or something alien related, like a lantern or whatever, you're typically a meta, I guess. So I don't know, like why her circumstances were what they were. To be fair, we got like a snapshot of her life, but yeah, she got like grabbed up. Even though it seems like she has sentience, her dad showed up and was like, "No, she can't breathe," and he was trying to tell her the last words to her: "You were never a burden." And then a cop with a itchy finger, trigger finger, just shot him, even though he wasn't doing anything. He pushed past the cops. He wasn't hurting anyone. All he was doing was talking to her, and I thought like, "Oh my God, is Nina gonna snap and kill this cop?" And that's what happens. Like, no, she got tossed in the back, and that's it. She never hurt anyone. She never did anything. She was just off on her own because the human world didn't accept her, and she was just like, "Fine, I won't be a part of the human world." Just off doing her own thing, and the human world came and invaded her space and snatched her up. It's just like, life is unfair, dude. It's like, that sucks. That sucks so badly, I mean, this is the second time like the human world's come and affected one of them in that capacity, where it's like, you had Weasel just doing his own thing, hanging out with those kids. That guy tried to play vigilante. Hey, he had the best of intentions, but he's the reason why all those kids died, and Weasel suffered the consequences for it. So you're just like, Jesus, that sucks, dude. So when it's all said and done, here present day, our commandos are making their way in, and Nina's the one that's trying to be the voice of reason, being like, do we have to do this? What if we're wrong? But it's like the Cersei of it all. It's like, yeah, Waller believes we're trying to save the world, so shouldn't that kind of outweigh things? I even love Phosphorus being like, yeah, like, what's a few dead humans? Who cares? Like, there's so many humans in the world, like, the world's not gonna miss a few. So, because it's like, yeah, all these people were, Nina was trying to say, like, all these people were killing, like, is it okay, So, because mainly it's the bride and Phosphorus is doing all the killing, and then lo and behold, Frankenstein made his way there, talking about like, oh, their love story and stuff, and he talking about it's going to be like a pornography, but he's like the one that chicks like, or something like that. So makes his way there, and obviously the bride, moment she locks eyes with him, is like, yo, fuck you, pow, pow, pow. And I even love Phosphorus being like, oh, a former paramour of yours? She said, shut up, not paramour. Because paramour is not the right word. I don't believe it. I forgot what the word he used, but it was essentially a previous lover of yours. Maybe paramour is the right word. Maybe I'm misremembering the definition of paramour. Either way, and then like he's trying to warn her, and she's like, Rick, flag, and she's like, yeah, I don't have anything to say to you, you stalker piece of shit. It's like, he's the worst messenger. To be fair, he was never meant to be the messenger, but it's just kind of like the circumstances played out the way they did, and he ended up being the messenger. Granted, you were not the face she wanted to see all this time. So yeah. So they pop him, kind of go on the way, not knowing. You're just like, oh, the entire time it's like, no, you're wrong. You're going to start World War III. This is all going to be bad. You're going to start it for the wrong reasons. I was like, oh, God, what's going to happen? And so at the same time, this is all going down. You have Rick waking up enough to tell Waller, like, yo, McPherson, that's all he could really get out. Like, there's something off about her. You were wrong. And so her and Economos like make their way over there and find Clayface, which I'm like, I don't know if that's implying like Clayface is dead, considering he's splattered on the ground like that. I'm like, I don't know if he's dead, or is he just in such a effed up state he can't reconstitute himself currently. So I don't know if he might be dead, but it could easily be a situation of, like Waller and her squad like grab him up and then kind of piece him together, just give him enough time to heal and he'll reconstitute himself. But they found out about McPherson, try to get word to try and stop the Commandos. So one of those brutal deaths in this was freaking Phosphorus, when he was like covering that guy's mouth and just slid his hand and just like the top part of his head fell off. You're just like, oh God. Phosphorus has like the most brutal deaths, and he's kind of burning his way through the wall. He's like, it's gonna take a while. So but they make their way through. I figured something had to at least be a little up, because the princess is like, oh, I'm going to go for my morning swim. And Sergei's like, should you be doing that? Like, we know that the Commandos are on their way to kill you. We know they're alive. She's like, yeah, but, I need to do this for my people. And Sergei's like, but your people aren't here. It's only the knights, and it's like that is a little odd. I think she was kind of like hoping things would turn out the way they did. I'm jumping ahead a little bit, but I'm like, it felt off. I'm like, why would you do that? But I guess it's like, oh, I want to. But like I said, you're not presenting normalcy to anyone else but your knights, and I guess that's the point. Like, you want to show them you have no fear. You're ready for what comes your way. You're not gonna let any fear like control you. So I guess that's what she was hoping for or aiming for. I don't know. But yeah, what it comes down to is it has to be Nina, because like there's so many guards around, so it's not going to be the easiest thing to get to her. But also, she's about to go in the water. Hey, that's Nina's territory, so Nina has to be the one to do it. And I love Phosphorus being like, "You got this, kid." And she goes on her way, and it's just like, he's like, "Did I sound like I gave a shit?" I was like, Phosphorus, but also, the bride being like, "Yo, you're a monster." She's like, "You told me I wasn't one." She's like, "Oh, I did, but I was lying because I'm a bitch." But yeah, she goes in for it. But the problem is, Weasel, all he can think about is the little girl that he couldn't save, and so he rushes into the water. And I was like, I didn't even think about it until it started happening. I was like, right, the motherfucker can't swim. He's gonna drown. I was like, because I was like, this is gonna go sideways. Nina's gonna get got, isn't she? And she does. And you're just like, no, she didn't want to be here. She didn't deserve to be here. And she was just doing what she thought was right, and she got gutted for it. I was like, that sucks. I was like, please, like, be able to help. It's like, nope, her body floating to the surface, and she's dead. You're like, fuck me. I was like, that was sad as shit. And especially when you see the bride makes her way over, because the entire time at this point, you're like, damn it, it was all for nothing. Like, she died for nothing because you were all given wrong information. I think there was a little bit of Nina that probably was happy and okay with doing it, because at the time I was kind of thinking like, oh, maybe she was offended by the bride being like, we are monsters. But I think for the first time, it's like, well, you are my friend, and I know you are my friend, and you believe in me, and you've accepted me, where like so many other people haven't. The only other people that have ever accepted me are gone. Her dad, for example, being rejected by her mom. This is like the only other person that's kind of embraced her. It's like, right, I've always felt like an outsider to the rest of the world regardless. So in this moment, I do get to feel like I'm part of the freak show, and just feeling like she does belong, and like being like, oh yeah, you're freakiest of us all, like it's kind of what like the bride was saying to her. And I think for Nina, it struck a chord where it's like, oh, like, I finally do find somewhere I belong. And I think there is something beautiful to that she died belonging rather than being on her own. So I don't know, I'm rambling, but there's something I think to that. I expected the bride to pop off. I thought the bride was going to be like, I don't give a fuck. She killed Nina. I'm going to kill her. I'm going to get my get back. But it's like, right, you got your orders. If you don't follow them, it is what it is. You're under your circumstances. You follow the orders. It's how you remain alive. It's like you hate yourself and you hate living, but it's still like, I'm going to do what I got to do. So I'm not going to, but it's like, right. And the way the princess came up, she could have easily immediately was like, I'm going to kill all of you. She did say like before, like, okay, I know you guys were given the misinformation, but she was also down for killing the Commandos. But now that the U.S. knows, like, yo, don't kill her. This was all misinformation. We were wrong. And for the bride, it hits her even harder, because it's like, Nina died for nothing, man. You're the one that got the wrong information. We thought we were so sure. Hell, even Phosphorus tried to stop Weasel and got bitten for it. So Weasel's mouth got burned and his arms got chewed up. And I love that later on Weasel's getting praised. Like, oh, you're a hero. And he's like, oh, he gets to be called a hero. I'm the one that got bit. And she's like, oh, what? You want them to pat you and praise you? And he's like, well, yes. I haven't been touched in like 15 years. You know what that's like? She's like, actually, yes. Like, it's most likely been even longer, because probably the last person she's ever been with in at least an intimate sense like that is probably Victor. But then like she walks off on her own. I was still thinking like, yo, is she gonna kill Ilana just for all of that? And it's like, and then she breaks it down, and it's like, hey, yo, I look, because once again, it's like, you knew something was up with the prince. I knew something was up with the princess, like episode 1 and 2. I was like, something seems off about this. But then I was like, the Cersei vision kind of proves it. But then I was like, in your attempts to try and stop her, what if you fail? And that's what pops stuff off. And you're like, I don't know. But then, like, you're like, now you're finding out maybe things aren't what you thought they were because of the Clayface at all. But then earlier in the episode, they show Clayface was here. I was like, wait, what? Why would Clayface be? I'm an idiot. I didn't piece it together. I'm like, well, she would definitely with Clayface, but why? I was like, they know each other? I was like, what's up with that then? I was thinking, like, it's not unless Clayface is betraying her. I was an idiot. I didn't piece it together until the bride pieced it together. I was like, oh my. And just the little things piecing together was so, especially like the Sergey of it all. Because I remember that, like, in episode 4, the bride happens to look and sees that guy over there, and I just brushed it off because I'd assumed it had something to do with Frankenstein, but it makes sense it wouldn't, but I just thought it did. I was like, oh, that's just such a throwaway thing, and you find out, no, that was Sergey there investigating. The moment he found out McPherson was here, she brought in her buddy Clayface, which, how the hell, well, I mean, who knows? Once again, there's so much there we don't know. Will we ever get any information on that? I don't know. But the fact is, how does she know Clayface? Like, maybe there's like some criminal connection here. Like, how does that work? How did you two know each other? For her, I mean, it could just be a thing of, I mean, she said buddy, but it doesn't mean they necessarily have to be buddies. It could just be like, no, she's aware of criminals and bad guys in the world because she was on her bad guy stuff, that maybe she just hired Clayface to do that. But it's like, right, you hired him to pretend to be McPherson to discredit her validity, because that was the thing. We didn't know when the switch happened. It's like, because they didn't bother checking the time of death because stuff popped off, but it's like, so the McPherson we met in episode 4 was the real her. But yeah, it's just that after that time is when she got killed by Clayface and replaced. I was like, that's wild. So it's like, yeah, Cersei's vision was true. That wasn't all BS. And sadly, the bride was the only one who figured it all out. And it's just, and for her, it's like, you really are this maniacal narcissist who is trying to destroy the world. And she's like, that's not even why I'm doing this. It's not even because I was ordered to. I'm going to kill you right now because you killed my friend. You killed the only friend in the world I have. And so it was like, because I was nervous because my thought was like, oh my God, is Eric going to show up and snatch her up before she's able to kill her? And then like Ilana's going to go off and do her. It's like, nope, quick draw, bam, blast to the head. I was like, it's done. I was like, what's the international ramifications for this? Seems like there's none, but once again, we're skipping over a lot. I'm sure those conversations were had about like, maybe they found plans in her room of like world domination, of like, oh yeah, like probably like, it's like that footage showing her with Clayface killed me. Like, there's probably like some money trails and stuff like that they can set up and not. I mean, still like they're monsters, but it's still like they performed stuff on the US's. So, I mean, the U.S., taking out targets internationally, that's such a thing. So you're like, I don't know how you handle that internationally, like what the talks were afterwards. Doesn't seem like there was any ramifications, but it does make Flag look like, I mean, once again, the way Ilana was throwing herself at Rick did seem like a thing of, yo, like, because that was another piece to it for the bride where it's like, Rick is, you are hoping like, right, you're the one that kept pushing Rick to kill Cersei, but like he didn't, because he's just like, I'm not about just randomly executing people. And that's why she enacted her plan, because it's like, I can't have Cersei running her mouth off about everything. So wow. And just like Nina leaving, being like, yo, you two play nice talking to Phosphorus and Weasel, and then they just walk away, and just in that moment, like tears running down her eyes, and then Phosphorus like tapping her on the shoulder. Once again, he has some humanity in him, but I think that humanity switches off. I think he just has points where he's just like, I'll decide to not be a complete another sociopath in this moment, because I don't really have the biggest empathy in me anymore, because that got burned away with the rest of my skin a long time ago. So once again, he's a bad guy and he leans into being bad. I'm not trying to be a hero. It's like, yeah, I'm going to save the world, but it's also like, I kind of have to. I'm kind of forced to. So might as well see this through. Also, I don't mind killing people. So it's kind of sad to see the situation in what it is, but you're like, damn, that's wild. And so I'm curious, like, well, we know that Rick Flag is going to be, Rick Flag Sr. Specifically, is going to be in Peacemaker Season 2 and the Superman movie, which obviously both have already been, I believe Peacemaker wrapped a little while ago. So I'd assume canonically speaking, those would take place after this. So I'm wondering, where does he stand? I mean, who knows? Maybe because I forgot. James Gunn did say like not everything's going to be like succinctly canonical. So like, things kind of happen in order in the MCU. He's kind of like, we're going to be bouncing all around the timeline. So it's like, right, I mean, Clayface is potentially dead, but we're also going to be getting a Clayface movie. We have no idea where in his timeline that's going to be, from his origin story all the way through or what. But once again, he could not be dead, but you get what I'm saying. Like, these are just going to be told. These are stories told throughout the history of DC. Some are going to be set present day. There's also like the Sergeant Rock movie that's supposed to be potentially in the works. I don't remember if that's ever been fully confirmed. I think that's still like a rumor territory, I think. But you get what the point I'm making, where it's just like his appearance in Superman and Peacemaker. I feel like Peacemaker would definitely be after this, especially because he's still talking about the situation with his son. So I'd assume Peacemaker might take place after this, but there's no guarantee Superman does, though. But I'm curious to see like what Rick's situation is, especially because the show was renewed for a second season. So what does that mean for Rick going forward? It's just a sad situation. But because of this, the Bride has been pushed more, and they were already kind of setting it up for her to kind of be the leader of the Commandos, because Rick fumbled this bad. I mean, to be fair, it wasn't just on him. It was also on Amanda saw this through. Like, she was kind of on the right side of things regardless, but then she pulled the trigger back because of misinformation she got from Flag, who got duped and played. And now it's like, I mean, also, what does that mean for him going forward? You could definitely see him being a little more cynical going forward, just because it's like, I was wrong this one time, but is he going to let that define everything? Like, will he approach things going into future? Like, that could easily play into Superman, where it's like, maybe he's a little cynical towards Superman because of this situation. It's like, yo, the one time I kind of bought into someone's bullshit, I basically co-signed the end of the world because I tried to save a maniac. Who knows? Who knows how that's going to play? We don't know what his role in Superman's going to be, and what role he's going to play in Peacemaker, and what his and Waller's relationship is going to be going forward. He's probably kind of on her shit list, because it's like, yeah, like I mean, I don't know. That's kind of such a curious thing. But obviously, by the ending, we have a new set of Commandos. We have Phosphorus back, Weasel. We have King Shark. We also have the Bat Lady from like a few episodes back. One of the people, funny enough, that was bullying Nina for her food, or sat on the sideline while that other dude like bullied her for her food. And there was someone else in the background I couldn't quite make out, so I was like, oh, interesting. And so, and then finally G.I. Robot. I was like, oh, he can't be rebuilt, and we see he's bigger and better than ever. I wonder, does he have any of his memories? Which is sad too, because Nina was his friend as well, but this G.I. Robot might not remember Nina, which would suck if he didn't, because it'd suck for like the only person that cared. Like, regardless of anything, he did kind of enjoy being friends with Nina. Like, he did consider her a friend. It's like, so... And I think that's kind of the inverse sadness of it, where it's like, oh, seems like at the time he was the only deaf. Now he's back, but Nina's not here. We also had that Theseus thing going on of, well, how much, like I said, how much of G.I. Robot is actually G.I. Robot, and how much of that's just kind of something built, new. So that's where things kind of end off. And like I said, I'm excited to see what James has in store for season 2. I wonder, is he going to write all of season 2 like he did season 1? Or because I know he didn't. I don't know if he wrote all of season 2 of Peacemaker. I know he's not directing all of season 2 of Peacemaker like he did season 1, because it's just like, well, you got like a lot you were doing at once. So he's like, I'm going to take a damn step back. So I'm curious about that, to see what threats they face going forward. And just like I said, where a lot of these characters, obviously our post credits was Frankenstein being like, well, is she really? It's like, the copium and the fucking obsessive stalker that he is. So we're not done with Frankenstein yet, and the Bride isn't done with him. So I'm curious to see. Obviously, we'll get some of the backstory on these new characters, but maybe we'll explore some backstory on some of these other characters too. Like maybe explore some more with the Bride or Weasel, or because King Shark is here. It's like, okay, once again, how much is canon about, like, Peacemaker? The only thing that appears not to be canon is the Justice League scene. Well, how much of the Suicide Squad is canon? And by turn, how much of Suicide Squad is canon? Those conversations. Those are the questions everyone has. So I should also note, I meant to bring this up. I'm glad I didn't forget to talk about this, but I'll let it kind of be the last thing I bring up. I love that. What was it? First and foremost, I love when he was like, "Oh," when Phosphorus like, "Oh, should we put down Weasel?" And they were both like, "No." He was like, "Oh, come on, jeez, I'm just brainstorming here, just making a suggestion." Also, like, she called him Ghost Rider. I was like, "Whoa, whoa, 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 wait! Is that implying that Marvel is canon in the DC universe?" I'm sure they've probably done stuff like, I mean, well, I know the comics have crossed over like DC and Marvel, but I don't know if like they've always done that where it's like, oh yeah, Marvel comics exist. I feel like they've probably done stuff like that in, like, I think the Flash TV show referenced like Marvel stuff before, so I don't think it's been like the first time. But I was like, oh, that's just kind of funny. And I'm sure it's probably happened in the past where yeah, because I think, cause didn't James reference Batman or something? He referenced in the Guardians of the Galaxy holiday special. Did he reference something DC related? I don't remember. I haven't seen it since it originally came out, but I'm like, I could have sworn he referenced something in that about DC, if I remember correctly, but maybe I'm wrong. I mean, Deadpool, but I mean, Deadpool's Deadpool, references like the DC universe. Once again, the Ghost Rider term could exist outside of Ghost Rider, but considering he's like a flaming skeleton, and there's only one flaming skeleton Ghost Rider, and that's in Marvel. Well, there's not one, but that name exists only, like, under the context of a flaming skeleton. It's Marvel, but obviously, there's multiple people who've taken up the mantle of Ghost Rider. But either way, that was just kind of a thing. I was like, I want to make sure I talk about that. So, hell of a season finale. Nice twists and turns, and once again, a gut punch with the whole Nina of it all, considering she was kind of like the sweetheart, and she was doing the right thing, so she wasn't even wrong. So she died for the right cause, but it's just shit went wrong, and it's like, if things had just been able to progress, it's kind of on Weasel, but I think Bride doesn't blame him as much, because it's like, once again, so many people got played, and also you're a dumb animal. Once again, they don't know the truth of why Weasel did what he did. It's not just about like, oh, you played catch with him. Plays a role in it, but it's like, you're a reminder of the trauma of, hey, you're the person you remind me of the little girl I couldn't save. Once again, at the time, I didn't think about, like, I thought, like, why did they make those characters look to get so similar? But last episode made you go, oh, okay, that's why. But either way, I'm going to shut up now. Sorry, but yeah, I'm excited for season 2 and what it has in store for us, and as things progress in the DCU. But really, that's all I wanted to talk about. Till the next time we meet, be happy, be safe, live life to the fullest, and enjoy it. Good day and goodbye.